Good morning, friends. Crew member of our beloved, polluted, and unique spacecraft, which, since the last time we met, has taken another turn about its imaginary axis, and of course continues developing events around the world. Today is Friday. Thank God it's Friday. Oh, but it's Easter Friday, right? That's why this is Easter. It's Easter week. It's not bad to remember something about our spiritual needs. Whatever be the case, Shabbat Shalom, Assalamu Alaikum, Pax Bovis. Remember, this land of grace called Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, the three main religious as well as agnostics, live peacefully. That's why we don't accept any aggression, and this is what makes us what we are. The reality is that whether it's Easter or not, this is the end of the week for us in this show. And foreign affairs between the East and the West have developed many events. There's been statements today in Moscow about many different sensitive areas than the ones that we spoke about on previous days. We had a lot of field work, and as we said, we are still in home, but we are here in front of you, live from Studio 3 of Venezuela Televisión. Remember that this program is created in Venezuela Televisión. It is recorded there, and myself, I am the producer as well as the host. That's the Orthodox Church that is also present at these times. And we are in one of the places where things matter most. This is the Kremlin Cathedral, and as it often happens, we have a picture and voice in off. Spokesperson Dmitry Peskov states Russia is not trying to get any diplomatic war, and President Putin, since the beginning, will always be trying to solve friendly relationships with all countries, including America. Russia has never tried to have sanctions to the bigger and most important workers. Then he states, of course we don't agree with this assessment. He is answering direct questions about the events developing. Remember that Russia has to take perceptive actions based on the measures taken illegally by expelling the diplomats of Russia and closing consulate missions ordered by Washington. Then he said, Russia will still be open to repair friendly relationships, and we want these relationships to take place. And what is behind all of this? Take a look at the wall of the Kremlin. Beautiful. Being there is really great. It looks like a James Bond movie, but there's a lot of history behind this. And the story is that Putin is still trying to create links with other countries, regardless of their decision to expel dozens of diplomats due to the poisoning of a former double agent from Russia in Great Britain, as is stated by the spokesperson from the Kremlin. Maria Zakharova, based on this, said, it is a pity that while we face the legitimate demands of Russia and the proposals for cooperation, the Brits are still silent or provide answers full of errors, not grammar errors, but they seem to be written by a child. This has left people with no idea about what to do with this type of answers. That was indeed something, right? The attempt of the staff of the Russian embassy to contact the spy and his daughter, which states that they have violated international law as well as the convention with Great Britain, and the Soviet Union in 1998. While we face the demands of Russia and the cooperation proposals from Great Britain, they are still silent, and their answers are full of mistakes. Not grammar mistakes, but concept mistakes. Great Britain has violated international law by not allowing the staff of the consulate to meet with Skripal and his daughter, who were poisoned with a nervous agent at the beginning of March. It was really clear what she said. And in Germany, Russia must answer questions about the poisoning of Skripal. This is the official position. That's a diplomatic car. You can see the meeting for Foreign Affairs. The ambassador of Germany in Russia, Rudolf von Fritz. I have taken the opportunity of this discussion to emphasize two things. First, Germany wants to have a good relationship with Russia. This is the interest of Russia and Germany, to have a mutual understanding. We are open and ready for any talks about this. If not, and due to the incident in Salisbury, the Russian government must do everything to foster clarity and transparency and to answer questions that are open and justified.
Zu schaffen und berechtigte offene Fragen zu beantworten. Vielen Dank.
The ambassadors of Germany and Poland were seen arriving at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and when leaving the building, Rudolf von Fritz, German ambassador, states that Russia must answer questions about the poisoning of the former spy Sergei Skripal, but Berlin is open for dialogue with Moscow. The diplomats of Russia have been expelled. There's a list of dozens of diplomats that have to go back to Russia. And in the meantime, things are coming back to place, because when you have to transfer diplomats, it's not only people. You need to fill gaps about security, communication, codes, and many other affairs that are considered crucial in a country. And this, of course, means a big change, a big shake in the midst of bilateral relationships that were being carried out decently before the critical days after the Cold War. As you can see, those are the boxes loaded onto planes and people who are living with all their implements. There's a plane that was today in the Dossier International Airport on this Friday to transport Russian diplomats that have been expelled who are turning back to Russia, as stated by NBC, which is a network from the United States. This is how the Russian diplomats moved. They needed to leave many Western countries that have unified to London and Washington to censor Moscow for the poisoning of Sergei Skripal and his daughter. Russia expelled also 59 diplomats from 29 countries on Friday and stated that they will take measures against 4 other nations in a fight against the West that becomes worse and worse by the day after the poisoning of Sergei Skripal in Great Britain. One day before, 60 diplomats and the closing of the St. Petersburg consulate was ordered by Russia. That's the second biggest city in Russia, where Francisco de Miranda even have some romantic affairs. Beautiful city. And now take a look at this. Actions taken due to diplomats expelled after the Cold War. Russia expelled diplomats from the EU due to the former Soviet agent. Now we're in Moscow. We just received this. You can see the soccer poster. Germany was expecting 2018 World Cup. EU flags, bear statues. We were expecting this year, 2018, all those who love soccer. This is the Spanish embassy. You can see the European Union. That's the shield, and we will see in some moments the embassy of Hungary. We can see it now. There's a plate on the door. There's also some warnings at the entrance, And then we're going to see the outside of the Swedish embassy. Swedish embassy, shield of arms, cameras, and a road nearby the Romanian consulate. So the countback has started for the diplomats of the EU will leave Russia in what has been similar to the diplomat expelled from Russia on March 22. This reflects the steps taken by Western governments against Russian diplomats due to a fight on the neurotoxic intoxication of Sergei Skripal and his daughter in Salisbury, England on March 4. Among the affected countries, there is France, Germany, Poland, each of which will have to send back 4 diplomats. The Kremlin criticizes the decision of Washington to expel the network RT that was operating in the United States. Russia has answered by expelling 23 diplomats. Among these countries, there's Germany, France, and Poland. Each one of them will have to send 4 diplomats back home from Moscow, and Ukraine will lose 13 diplomats, while other countries will have to expel 2 members from their embassies. The Kremlin criticizes and objects Washington's decision to expel the channel RT. This is another consequence of this diplomatic situation. This is Kremlin, that's the cathedral, that are the embassies of the countries that are sending people back, the old symbols of imperial power. You can see the beautiful cathedral, and of course, the clock of Moscow in the tower that represents this country. Dmitry Peskov states, lawyers are now examining details because the devil is in the details. But from this point on, and at first sight, it seems to be a decision without any type of fundament.
Completamente infundada porque incluso el Estado,
there's nothing behind that could back the decision because cable providers cannot be the ones who stop the massive spreading of media. These are arbitrary reasons and they're very intimidating, but they show discriminatory policy against the Organization of Media in the United States, which goes against the legislation of the United States, and it contradicts every single statement about the freedom of speech and democracy that you can listen every day in Washington. And I will state this again. We are studying this situation closely, and we believe it is very dangerous, and you can see all the events in full development around the world. The expression event in full development is a phrase that has been registered legally by Dossier. The Department of Justice of the United States has forced RT to register as a foreign agent in November last year, which states that they must show their financial information until agencies of the United States have called RT, backed by the Kremlin, the machine for propaganda of Russia, and it was stated that they helped the campaign of Moscow to interfere in the elections of the United States last year. Margarita Simonian, editor of RT Network, stated yesterday's evening that via the social media, the channel was expelled from Washington due to its condition of foreign agent. Dmitry Peskov, spokesperson for Kremlin, stated that the telephone conference with journalists on Friday stated that reporters are on the case. The ambassador of China in Great Britain states that Europe and China must unite against protectionism. The cameras of the Commons and the Lords, the Big Ben, of course we're in London. Financial Times, in the web version of the Financial Times, that's a Westminster Palace, pedestrians, the architecture in Edinburgh, Scotland's flag, guards in the Royal House Guard, and something happens often in the great capital of Great Britain. That's the Scottish flag, some ship containers, supermarkets, everything in order, peace, quiet. The problems are on the inside. And based on this, the Guard of Honor is fully dressed with every implement of their uniform. Take a look at all the paraphernalia behind this. It's something very interesting indeed. And Europe and China must unite against protectionism, as stated on Thursday by the ambassador of China in Great Britain, Lu Xiaoming, in an article published in the Financial Times. This is everything related to exports and imports. Liu stated that Europe and China should be united against protectionism and stated that the new measures of the states can unchain a trade war and obstacle world growth. He also stated that the world now faces an exchange between cooperation and struggles in a moment where the international community should have world trade at a perfect functioning. An economist from the States stated there's no winner under these conditions and tariffs created by Trump for imports coming from China. Who states this? Eric Renchifo, professor of the Department of Economy of the Fordham University.
A great percentage of our portfolio.
We buy a great percentage of our portfolio for goods and services in China. Let's imagine that we create a tariff of 25% over this. What will happen is that importers will get a product that would cost $100 and not $25 more. Now the price is $125. And who's going to pay $125? Well, we're going to have to pay for this. So this is the problem now. At the end of the day, the losers are individuals, usually families, homes. And this is indeed a problem. Governments must understand that, in fact, at the end of this economic war, there's no winners here in the United States.
And natural resources is what China is looking for. And then this is something very...
Professor
Fogel of Harvard states, let us remember that in the decade of the 80s, we competed against Japan and we were afraid because their economy was growing as well as their competitivity. Today, the United States face a special time. Americans don't trust the country as they did before, so they rely on foreign countries. So he should have stated that they are afraid of competence. Commercial and trade friction could only be handled with dialogue in a context as this, because there's no winners in a trade war. This was stated by this economist and every economist in the United States. The proposal of President Donald Trump to impose tariffs up to $60 billion on the imports from China, as well as harsher restrictions on investments from China, has led to concerns throughout the world between two economies that are considered the biggest in the world. Israelis killed 15 protesters from Palestine in the Gaza border. Will this have any impact on the White House? See this. They're using drones in order to attack the protests of the Palestine. And with these drones, they also throw grenades, apparently made of phosphorus, according to some sources. This was something that wasn't seen until now. And this could be called a disrespect on human rights. There are women protesting in Gaza. We're going to listen to some people later on in the show. And take a look at the drone. The drone is throwing grenades that, according to some witness, are phosphorus. They're made of phosphorus. Phosphorus burns as long as there's oxygen. Imagine this over someone's skin. That is basically hell. Tires in the border trying to block, thrown with gas grenades, prohibiting these protests. Most people on the Israeli side are denying this. They just state they are gas grenades, not phosphorus. And the Palestine flag, it's not even there anymore. They are not even willing to use soldiers. They use drones and fire grenades from above. Some people are wondering how far will this go. While the United Nations stay still. But it doesn't matter, because when the United Nations condemns Israel, the United States used their veto right, and this is guaranteed, so nothing has happened. Women go out to buy groceries and find these, carrying the injured people from Palestine, Palestine flags, children, next to these tents.
El cuento de nunca acabar.
This is a never-ending story, apparently.
Las mujeres tratando de hacer la sopita,
trying to cook bread, and trying to feed their children as well.
El cuento de nunca acabar.
A never-ending story.
Y lo que dice las Naciones Unidas,
and
ignoran, ¿no?
United Nations say things that are ignored. And they also want to ignore that this was a reform from the United Nations that created the Israel state. That's pita bread. That's what Palestinians eat.
Saludo a las mujeres palestinas y a
I salute Palestinian women and all the Palestinian people. We will never surrender. We are right.
At
least 15 Palestinians were killed and hundreds were injured by the security forces of Israel that faced one of the most important protests of Palestine in the border between Israel and Gaza, one of the biggest one in the last years, as stated by medical professionals from Israel. Palestinians forced by the right of retreat in Israel due to a United Nations resolution. It was their land before. They were meeting in 5 locations around this area for a protest planned for 6 weeks' time. Local workers stated that the estimate of Israel soldiers was of 30,000 individuals. Families brought children to just hundreds of meters away from the security walls of Israel, in between the football fields in the ground and Hamas people. They also heard through the band of the scouts. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas states, based on this sad event, I set all the responsibility in the authorities of Israel due to people killed today, after what was done by the occupation army against the peaceful protest. They were commemorating this anniversary and retrieving the right to self-determination, just like many other countries in the world. I have requested the UN to act briefly to provide protection to our Palestinian people that is facing this daily aggression that increases by the day. I have requested the agent of Palestine in the United Nations to talk to the General Assembly of the United Nations and the General Assembly in order to make fast measures that are required to protect our people. The number of dead and injured people confirms the need for the intervention of the international community in order to provide protection to our Palestinian people.
إن سقوط هذا العدد الكبير من الشهداء والجرحى في مظاهرات شعبية سلمية يؤكد وجوب تدخل المجتمع.
En una declaración televisada, Mahmoud Abbas dijo que
on a TV statement, Mahmoud Abbas stated that Israel was responsible for the violence that killed at least 15 Palestinian protesters and hundreds of injured, some of them in grave condition. He requested the UN to be in touch. The protests showed unity between the different factions of Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip, where Fatah Abbas and Hamas are leading the movement. The efforts for conciliation to end this dispute have failed for months, but it seems that today there is a possibility opening. Javier Couso states, massacre of the Israeli army against protesters from Palestine. Till now, 12 killed and hundreds of injured. An apartheid system that can only be sustained by that. Palestinians are hunted like deer in the Gaza Strip with diplomatic support from the United States and the complicity of the international community. Stop this genocide, as stated by Javier Couso in his official Twitter account. The number of Palestinians killed has increased 16, while the injured are 1,200, according to the Health Ministry of Palestine. Based on the official sources, there has been reinforcement of all the tanks in the separation line to stop the protesters to reach Palestinian sites. Recently, the Defense Force of Israel, IDF,
prometió que abriría fuego contra cualquiera que intente abrir una brecha en la valla fronteriza e ingresar a Israel. Los habitantes palestinos de Gaza han levantado a lo largo del muro impuesto por Israel una serie de campamentos donde, pese a todo el camps and regardless van a pernoctar
to the actions due to snipers, they're going to sleep there regardless of any protest. This becomes worse by the day. And with this, well, we cannot even think about what could happen as it did with other former presidents. What are the satellites stating? Well, nothing is more important than to what we have already said. We will be back after a commercial break with events in full development. Stay where you are.
Ya vuelve.
We are back with more events in full development during the Easter. This country has an absolute majority of Christians as the whole of Latin America, the whole big nation. But of course we respect the rest of the creeds. But today we have to make a reference to what is happening in Rome. And there we now have the first Latin American Pope. This is something that we need to continue understanding, because this brings different events than the events that happen in different Easters back in time. Well, this is not the first one. We are not showing heaven. Someone did something wrong, apparently. These are the events in full development, and the Pope is giving Mass due to the Passion of Christ. Then the priests help the maximum authority carry out his activities for Easter. Then he lays down for the Creator. He lays down on a carpet. He prays silently. Believers in St. Peter's Church are with him. And the preacher is Raniero Cantalamessa, who's speaking in the podium, as well as the Pope. We will listen to him later on in this very important ceremony that takes place in Easter. In Mass, he states, "Dear beloved Christians, you, the young, if you let an old person as St. John direct you or address you, I exhort you. Be the ones who take the opposite direction. Go against the tide." The great sheep of St. Peter.
Sul Calvario ai piedi della croce c'era la madre di Gesù e accanto a lei voi, e avete vinto il maligno. Non amate il mondo. Egli ha visto non solo
The preacher, Raniero Cantalamessa, states, "You are listening, an old person talking to you directly, and I exhort you, the young, you are the ones who must take the opposite direction, go against the tide, defend our values. This is a task and a mission that is in your hands, you, the young Christians, rescue the human love of it going adrift, the one that is no longer a gift itself, that possession of the other."
È affidato in modo particolare a voi giovani. Salvare l'amore umano dalla deriva tragica nella quale è finito. L'amore che non è più dono di sé, ma solo possesso, spesso violento e tirannico.
Love is no longer a gift itself, but only the possession, often violent and tyrannic from the other, and this should not be what happens. Pope Francis is in charge of the Mass in St. Peter's Church, whilst remembering the last hours of the life of Jesus Christ our Savior. This ceremony for the Passion of Christ on Friday, that thousands of people attended, is one of the few times where Pontifex listens, while other priest is the one giving Mass at the beginning of the service. The Pope lays down while listening to the Mass. The service was in charge of Raniero Cantalamessa, preacher of the Vatican, and urged the young Catholics to go against the tide to rescue human love, which is no longer a gift itself, however a violent, tyrannic possession of the other. That is not indeed love. A traditional ceremony that happens hours before Pope Francis started with the procession of the Via Crucis in the most important day of the liturgical calendar of our Catholic Church. And Philippine Catholics always create some notes of color. They commemorate this day at their own way. They are dressed as Roman soldiers while dragging down Ruben Enaje, a Catholic Philippine, to the site for crucifixion. Then there's a very strong ceremony that takes place.
Catholics that are dressed as Roman soldiers hammering down the cross. The tourists are filming the crucifixion. And the screams of pain. This is not a reenactment. This person is in real nailed down to the cross. And those who offer this sacrifice really calls the attention of the tourists that are there. A statement of a tourist, Luke Hinkle. I feel so much at conflict because I am a Catholic and I believe that I'm part of this crowd. But I see this person nailing himself. I know what happens, but I want to stop this. And then I feel that I need to step forward and say, no, crucify me. But I just stay here. So I have many emotions in conflict. Catholics also dressed as Virgin Mary and crying all Bible characters now there. And Ruben Enaje says, I did not hurt myself this year. Last year, I came back home with a limp, but this year I feel fine. Representing Virgin Mary when Christ is taken down from the cross. Some of them really need medical attention after this. I feel what he is telling me. Go ahead, continue. This is the example that I see in this dramatic way of demonstrating the history of our Christian faith. And then, a feminine Catholic, Mary Jane Lasher, stated, when you're brought up, it hurts. Specifically when they raise your legs, it all hurts. Because all the weight of your body is over the injuries of your feet. But even the ones in the hands hurt. When they put you up or down, it also hurts. But if you're stable, you can control the pain. People do this as a promise. Under the burning sun, those wearing costumes remembered Jesus being nailed with 2-inch nails in front of tourists, both local and foreigners. She states, when they bring you up, it hurts. Mainly your legs, but everything hurts. And Ruben Enaje, who's been crucified 32 times, states that this time he did not feel anything, and he said that God was the one helping him. Catholic Mary Jane Sasson was also one of the 3 Christians that were nailed down in the Ekutu town. It was the 7th time participating in the rites of Easter that hardly ever see women's volunteering for crucifixion. The Catholic Church, this proves the tradition of the province that was originally a small play in the 60s, and it states that this is a wrong interpretation of faith, but the event has become a very important touristic event that brings hundreds and thousands of people, and many Philippine Catholics often hurt themselves in a religious act, some of them too extreme, as we need to point out, as that crucifixion and self-scourging during Easter, as a way of showing God their faith, their love. Some people believe that it cleanses sins, cures diseases, and even grants wishes. It could be inheritance, it could be some special petition, and at the same time, they also provide an offering by asking something. We're in Guerrero, Mexico, and the president of Taxo, Luis Armando Arriaga, is the one talking now. So, this is just an act of faith. A visitor, Ignacio Navarrete,
also provided his opinion. This is another dramatic way of remembering the events of the Passion, Crucifixion, and death of Christ. This experiences enriching you spiritually, and a lot of people like us need to take back responsibility in these hard days that we face. This is really motivating and encouraging for all the people to develop their spirituality. This is a unique show. Catholics visited the city of Taxco in order to start the procession that shows a lot of devotion of the people scourging themselves and the crucifixion that shows the end of the Holy Week or Easter. This beautiful city is amidst the mountains of Guerrero, Taxco, and it is famous due to its handicrafts and silver mines, as well as for the commemoration of Holy Week, some of the most impressive religious rituals in the whole of Mexico. The procession of the scourgers at the end of this, they show this procession in Sacré-Cœur, Holy Heart, on the Friday of Easter. Archbishop of Paris, Michel Petit, carrying the cross in the Sacré-Cœur church, people following him, as well as nuns and other Catholics in procession. And here, they are all equal under Christian faith. Petit, carrying the cross. We will see this. This is a tradition in France. And Alexandre will add a comment after we take a look at the images of this part of the ceremony.
Oui, bien sûr, c'est toujours bien pour ce genre de célébration de voir le chef.
The Alexandre states, it's always beautiful to see the leader of the church in processions as these. It shows that everyone is involved and there is a message to show. The message comes from above. We're all involved. For me, this is the most important message. So it is true that the Archbishop is symbolic indeed, but whoever directs this procession, whoever leads it, shows the same message, hope and spirituality, which are the things that matter. Petit, with a panoramic view of Paris, holding the cross in his back. While walking up the stairs in the church. Alexia, 28 years old, will provide her statement as well. Paris in the background. For me, it is important to come to this procession at the end of Easter. It allows me to see this right until resurrection. I think that what the Archbishop said is very interesting, specifically for immigrants and sick. And then the inside of the church. Ulrich Ngoma will provide his statement as well. I come here every Friday in Sacré-Cœur. It is very important for me. I feel a special warmth in Sacré-Cœur, the famous church of Sacré-Cœur in Paris. Procession was led by Michel Petit, Archbishop of Paris. Petit carried a wooden cross around the different stations, remembering an important and key moment in the life of Christ. He was followed by dozens of priests, nuns, and members of the parish of Sacré-Cœur, as well as thousands of people that were part of the crowd, while remembering the reproduction of these dramatic events. Basilica of the Holy Heart of Jesus is one of the most important and visited monuments in Paris, and it is a very important site for pilgrims too. The same thing happens in Benheim, Germany. Jesus, carried by Roman soldiers, different debates of the council about the fate of Jesus. Members of the council pushing him, mistreat him, as it indeed happened in history. walking around the city of Rome,
también aparece.
and Mary Magdalene also being there.
Onlooker Elke
Hindertam said,
Jesús vuelve a caer llevando su propia cruz.
Jesus falls to his feet while carrying his own cross.
Vater, vergib ihnen, denn sie wissen nicht, was sie tun. Pilatus.
Las palabras bíblicas
Bible words
dichas aquí ahora
stated here
en otro idioma.
in a different language, German in this case.
Diciéndose al Padre Todopoderoso,
The Father speaking to the powerful Father in heaven
comiendo mi espíritu.
while devouring the Spirit.
In deine Hände leg ich meinen Geist.
Und ich finde es toll, dass eben dieser Kreuzzug mit.
Creo que es bueno que esta procesión aquí
I
en
think
Bernheim
that
haya
it's
terminado con todos los residentes, porque
beautiful
entonces también era
to
así.
see
Era un
this
gran
procession in
festival folclórico,
Bernheim
toda la
with
gente
all the
venía a oír
people.
lo mismo y me
The same
gustó.
thing happens today as it has been for a long time, and I really like the event.
In Hovner dice,
In
no
Hovner
creo que
states,
sea un error
I don't
presentarlo
think
así de
that it's a
temprano. Es un
mistake
tema
to
que
show
emociona a
this
todos.
as early,
Viste el
something
estado de
that
ánimo cuando Jesús
moves
habló de nuevo
everyone.
al final, fue muy conmovedor.
Listening
Creo que
to
es una
Jesus
buena
at the
idea.
end was very moving. I think this is a great idea,
También para la ciudad de Bernheim.
and this is very good for the city of
Cientos
Mannheim.
de personas
Thousands of people
desfilaron las frías temperaturas de este viernes
were
para
there
asistir a la tradicional
under the
procesión
cold
de Viernes
temperatures
Santo
of this
en la
Friday
pequeña ciudad
in the
alemana de
procession in the small city of Bernheim in Germany.
La bajada de Jesús de la cruz,
Jesus
un grupo de
coming
actores
down from the
aficionados
cross,
recrea
a
escenas
group
de
of
la Biblia que
amateur
representan
actors
la
that
crucifixión de
recreate
Jesucristo.
the
Una
Bible
tradición traída
scenes
por primera
that
vez a la
show
ciudad desde Frankfurt por inmigrantes italianos
the
en
death
la
of
década de
Christ.
1980.
This was brought to Frankfurt
La
by
pasión de este año
Italian
atrajo a cientos
immigrants
de
in the
espectadores que
80s.
se acurrucaron bajo el
Hundreds of
paraguas para ver
people
la acción.
came here
Cristianos
to
creen que
watch the
Jesucristo fue
event. The
crucificado
Christians
Viernes
believe
Santos antes de ser
that
resucitado el
Jesus
domingo de Pascua, que cae el
was
1 de abril de este
crucified
año.
on Friday and he
Y los
came back to
cristianos de
life on
Jerusalén
Sunday.
caminan
The
en
Christians of
procesión por la
Jerusalem
Vía Dolorosa.
start a procession on this path.
Las cruces de madera,
Wooden
himnos
crosses,
cantados, los cristianos
hymns,
realizan una procesión por la Vía
and the
Dolorosa en la
Christians
ciudad vieja de Jerusalén,
walking
marcando
around
el Viernes
Jerusalem,
Santo, el 30 de marzo,
showing the events
volviendo
of
sobre lo que
March
fue la
3rd,
ruta que Jesucristo
bringing
llevó a
back
su crucifixión.
the events that brought Jesus
Los
to his
fieles que siguen el
crucifixion.
calendario occidental
The
comenzaron
faithful
el
who
Festival de
follow
Pascua el
the
Viernes
Western
Santo con la
calendar
procesión
start
por
with
la
the
Vía Dolorosa
Easter procession
hasta la iglesia del Santo Sepulcro,
leading to
donde los
this
cristianos
church
creen que
where
Jesús fue
Christians
sepultado
believe that
antes de
Jesus
resucitar
was
de entre los
buried
muertos 3 días
before
después.
coming back from the dead
La
3
Vía
days
Dolorosa,
after.
parte del convento Ecce Homo,
This is part of
He
the
aquí el
Ecce
hombre,
Homo
conduce a la iglesia del
Church
Santo Sepulcro.
that believes it ends in this church.
A lo largo de la ruta están las
Throughout the
14
path,
estaciones
there
de
are
la cruz.
14 stations of the
La primera
cross.
estación es
The
donde
first
se creía que
station
Jesús
is
había
where it
sido
was
condenado a
believed that
muerte.
Jesus
El
Christ
último es la
was
tumba
condemned
donde
to
los
death. The
cristianos
last one
creen que
is
está
the time
enterrado.
where Christians believe he
El
is
ritual
buried,
anual de la ciudad vieja.
the yearly ritual of the old
Comunicado,
city.
información de última hora.
Statement.
Paso a informarles.
I will
Venezuela propone
let you know
solución
about this.
pacífica de la
Venezuela
controversia
proposes a
territorial
peaceful
con
solution
Guyana.
for the controversial
Y en este
resolution
sentido,
with Guyana. And
El
based on
ministro
this,
y el Ministerio del Poder Popular para
the
Relaciones
Ministry for
Exteriores
Public Power and Foreign
informa al
Affairs
pueblo venezolano y a la comunidad
informs
internacional
Venezuelan
que el día
people and
28 de
international
marzo de
community that
2018
March
se envió
28,
una nota diplomática al
2018,
Ministerio de
a
Relaciones
diplomatic
Exteriores
document was sent to
de la
Foreign Affairs
República
Ministry of
Cooperativa
the
de
Cooperative Republic of Guyana
sentando la posición respecto a la
by
misiva del secretario
showing the
general de las Naciones
position
Unidas, Antonio
on the
Guterres, el
General
30 de enero de 2018,
Secretary of the United Nations
en la que
on
propone
January
el
30,
arreglo
2018
judicial
to
como
provide
método
a
de solución
legal adjustment
pacífica
for
de la
peaceful solution
controversia
of the
territorial
controversy of
que
land
mantiene nuestro país con Guyana
that our
como
country has
consecuencia
with
de que el
Guyana
laudo arbitral de
as a consequence of the arbitration of 1899 about the border between Venezuela and the British Guyana. It's null and invalid.
Se ha hecho de conocimiento de las autoridades
This
guyanesas
has
que la
been led
República
and
Bolivariana de
shown
Venezuela
to the authorities
desestima el
of Guyana
contenido de la mencionada misiva.
that
Y así se
Venezuela
le hizo
is
saber al
against
secretario
this
general de la
document,
ONU
as
el
this was
25 de febrero
stated
de
to
2018,
the General Secretary
por
of the
cuanto
United
excede
Nations in
las
2013, because it goes beyond the
fueron
competences
otorgadas
that
por la
were
figura de
granted
los
by
buenos
the
oficios,
figure of good
mutuamente
decisions,
convenida
mutually
entre las
agreed
partes.
between the parties.
Contraviene el espíritu,
It
propósito y
goes
razón del
against
Acuerdo de
purpose,
Ginebra
spirit,
del
and right
17
of
de
the
febrero
Geneva
de
Agreement of February
1966.
17, 1966.
Asimismo, la República
Also,
Bolivariana de
the Bolivarian
Venezuela
Republic of
ha
Venezuela
informado que
has
objeta
informed that it
expresamente
fully
el arreglo
objects
judicial
the
como medio de
legal
solución de la
arrangement
controversia territorial
as a
sobre
way
la
of
Guayana
solving
Esequiba,
the
ya que
land
violenta el preámbulo del
dispute
Acuerdo de
of Guyana
Ginebra
because it
de
goes against the Geneva
1966.
Agreement of
¿Qué
1966.
dice el acuerdo?
What does this agreement state?
Taxativamente, dice que la
Based on
controversia
taxes,
debe ser
controversies,
arreglada amistosamente,
everything should be
resuelta en
settled
forma que resulte
friendly
aceptable para
and
ambas
solved
partes.
in a
Y el
fashion
precipitado
acceptable
método
for both
vulnera
parties.
del mismo
And
modo
these
el artículo
methods
primero,
goes against the
dado que
first
no
article,
conduce a
provided
soluciones
it does
satisfactorias
not
para el
lead
arreglo
to
práctico
satisfactory
de la
conditions for the
controversia.
practical agreement of
Igualmente
this
ha reiterado
controversy.
al gobierno
It has
guyanés
also been restated
que
to the
recurrir
Guyanese
al arreglo
government
judicial para
that
dirimir la
reaching a
controversia
judicial agreement for
resulta
this controversy is
inaceptable.
unacceptable.
Y además de inaceptable,
And
estéril
not
e
only
inaplicable,
unacceptable, but astral
dado
and
que la República
inapplicable,
Bolivariana de
provided
Venezuela
that the Bolivarian
no
Republic of Venezuela
reconoce
does
como
not
obligatoria
acknowledge as
la
mandatory
jurisdicción de la
the
Corte
jurisdiction
Internacional de
of the
Justicia.
International Court
Y
of
en este
Justice.
sentido,
And for
ha
this,
sido siempre
it has
consecuente
always
con su
been
posición
consequent
histórica
with its
de hacer
historic
expresa
position
reserva
of
o no ser
expressly
signataria de
reserving of
ningún
not being
instrumento jurídico
signatory of
internacional
any
que
international
contengan
legal
cláusulas
instrument with
compromisorias que otorguen
commitment
jurisdicción
clauses
obligatoria
that
a
grant
la referida
mandatory jurisdiction to the court.
Y para avanzar en la
Finally,
escogencia de
and
mutuo
in
acuerdo
order
del método
to
de solución
choose
pacífica de las controversias
a way of
bajo la
solving
égida del Acuerdo
these
de Ginebra
controversies
de
in a peaceful way based on the
1966,
Geneva Agreement of
el
1966,
gobierno de la
the
República
government
Bolivariana de
of the
Venezuela
Bolivarian
ha
Republic
propuesto al
of
gobierno de
Venezuela
la
has
República
proposed to the government
Cooperativa
of
de
the
Guyana
Cooperative
reiniciar
Republic
los
of Guyana
contactos
to
diplomáticos
restart
que permitan alcanzar una
diplomatic
solución
contacts
práctica y
that could lead to a
satisfactoria
satisfactory
de la
and practical
controversia
solution
territorial.
of this land controversy.
Dichos contactos
These
permitirán
contacts
adicionalmente
will allow additionally
evaluar de manera conjunta los
to assess in a
convenios
joint
y la
fashion
conveniencia de
the
continuar con la
agreements
figura de los buenos
and
oficios
continue
bajo el
with the
auspicio del
figures required
secretario general de las Naciones Unidas.
with the
Todo ello en un
United Nations
contexto
General
de
Secretary. All
cordialidad
this under a
y de
context
diálogo
of
constructivo y pacífico.
constructive and peaceful
Caracas,
dialogue.
30 de marzo
Caracas,
2018.
March 30, 2018.
El comunicado
This
por el
is
cual
the
Venezuela
statement
propone
by which
solución
Venezuela
pacífica de
proposes
la
a
controversia
peaceful
territorial
solution
con Guyana.
to the land
Acabamos de
controversy with
recibirlo,
Guyana. We just
lo he leído a
received
primera
this.
vista,
I
y nos
read
parece
this
que
to you
es
and believe
más que interesante.
that
Veremos
is
cómo
very
rebota esto en los medios
interesting.
de
We are
comunicación.
going to see what are
Bueno, sea cual sea
the
la situación,
events due to
Hoy
this
es viernes.
statement. Whatever the case may
Gracias a
be,
Dios
today is
es
Friday. Thank God it's Friday.
por lo tanto,
And because of this,
el deseo de paz de las tres grandes religiones
I
monoteístas
want
que
to
coinciden
wish
allá
you
en Tierra
peace
Santa,
from the three
que acabamos de ver.
monotheistic religions that have the
Tierra
same
Santa
saint
porque
land, the Holy Land.
Drama de nuestro Señor Jesucristo.
It was
Así que,
the home of Jesus
Shabbat
Christ.
Shalom,
So,
Assalamu
Shabbat Shalom,
alaikum,
Assalamu
Pax
alaikum,
Vobis.
Pax
Recuerden,
Vobis. Remember,
Ese es el deseo de paz
This
de las tres
is
grandes religiones monoteístas.
the wish
Y
of peace
todos
of the three main religions of the
Coincidimos
world.
en Jerusalén
And everyone today in
y las
Jerusalem,
resoluciones de las Naciones Unidas
based on the
hablan
resolutions
claro
of the
respecto
United
a la
Nations that
apertura
are
de
clear about being open
Y no
about
debe
this.
olvidarse que fue por una
Lest
resolución
we
de las
forget
Naciones
that this
Unidas
is due to a resolution of the
que se
United
creó el
Nations,
moderno Estado de Israel.
the reason by which the modern state of Israel was
Dicho
created.
esto,
After stating this, from Studio 3 of Venezuela Television, the pioneering channel of Venezuelan TV, inherited from TVN5 and Charnecas Romanín, where we had the single civilian satellite. It came from Prados del Rey with Eurovisión in Spain, and we got it here. So today we conclude with our talk dossier, the main show in the hemisphere of satellite information. Enjoy your weekend. Don't be part of the statistics. We want to be with you on Monday. Director, the floor is all yours.